Well, welcome back to Just B. I'm Coach Jenn B with my amazing colleague and friend, Coach Agakora B. We're here to chat with you today. Grab your favorite beverage, grab your warm blanket, or if it's that time of year, grab a fan so you can stay nice and cool with us. But we're going to chill and chat today, so let's get started. Our topic we want to discuss, and I am so excited to do this, is I get to interview Agakora. It's more about the I don't belong here theme. And if you've been watching some of our series and episodes, I'm a late in life ADHD diagnosed and an HSP. Agakora is an HSP, and I'll let her explain who she is and all about her also with that. So the I don't belong here came from a discussion Agakora and I were having just a little while ago. And Agakora, I'm going to ask and invite you to start where you want to start, and we want to give you all a warning. We're just going to talk about some depression, anxiety, the cycles of that, what it can lead to, suicidal thoughts, moments. So if this is a trigger for you or you've been through this, feel free to bookmark this, come back later, play us on a slower speed, faster speed, whatever works for you. But thank you for being here for this discussion. It started when we were sharing our background, and then Agakura, I want you to feel seen and heard, because after our last discussion, my RSD, my rejection sensitivity, clicked in, and I wanted to make sure I hadn't disrupted our connection. I hadn't disconnected with you, and I wanted you to be seen, heard, and I love that we're going to go deeper and discuss more. So I'm so thankful that this is our safe space, and we can invite others in to join us in the conversation. If there's anything you have questions about, leave them in the comments. We'll check them below. A like, subscribe, and we're going to continue our chill and chat. Okay. Hi, my friend.
Hello.
Okay, so our serious discussion today has got some circles and dimension to it from both of us, but I really want to go back with you. I'd love to go back to when you shared in the previous episodes. Um, Tell us a little bit about where you were, what was happening, what you were thinking, and where the I don't belong here came from, if you would.
It's interesting before I go into that. It's interesting how the people who actually see you are the ones who will ask you, did you feel that I didn't see you?
Very true.
A person who didn't see you would probably not even ask that.
They
So
wouldn't even
that is
start.
so sweet. And I felt absolutely seen and heard. But I just wanted to note that most of the time people who turn back and be like, did I see you?
Oh, good. That's good. Okay. I do see you.
So, um, I was 23 when at some point I decided I didn't belong here and I didn't want to live anymore. And the things that had led up to that were so when you said late diagnosed ADHD, for me it's late diagnosed HSP and still waiting for the ADHD, but I must say that a lot resonates. Um, and so it's all like every whatever comes up now for me, it's going to be late diagnosed because I'm in my 40s. So I was always the too sensitive, taking everything, being too emotional, taking everything too serious. It's not possible to talk to you because you take everything to heart. Mind you, these
Mm.
are the people who would actually appreciate when their Christmas tree was on fire, that I was there to put out
Right.
the fire. So it was only when I was emotional about something that meant something to me.
Right.
Nobody has ever scolded me for crying with them.
Right. Very true. As long as you're supporting them and seeing them,
There
it's
is no problem.
so would you say you have a deeper understanding of the feelings then is what's leading me to you have this deeper well of empathy for others, and you
Yes,
understand that when they're feeling that, you know how to process. Well, now we have more skills to process it, knowing that's not ours, but we can support them in that.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. But then when I am now the one
Mm.
who needs that support, it usually for many of the people who would actually appreciate me crying with them would be like, don't do that, don't be emotional for your own things.
Because
Where I
they
was
don't know
like,
how to process it and support you, and they feel, what would you say they feel? I mean, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but in general, when people are uncomfortable telling you not to feel something, it's because something's triggering in them and they don't know how to process it. Would that sound?
maybe, yes, but maybe also like, can we just go back to talking to about me?
Yes, so that's the focus is off of them and yes,
Yeah.
I agree. It could be
Or
both.
can we just, I just want to have a light evening, so I can't do
Yes,
you thinking of the poor kids starving, like I can't
right,
have that today.
right. Or they don't see the different things going on in the world and all of the devastation and whatever it is, they can't possibly. And sometimes that's because maybe they don't know how to solve it. They don't know, they can't fix it. But a lot of times because it's not about the me of who they are.
It's not
Mm.
like there's this Catalan saying it's all about around my belly button. Like it has to
Oh,
be all around my belly button, you
I'm
know?
the universe. It goes all around me.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so I think that in my 20s, I hadn't learned how, like, I didn't know about being highly sensitive. Mind you, I saw three therapists. None of them ever talked to me about that concept. So that's just to show you that for many therapists, I even have a dear friend who's a therapist, and she was telling me about her brother. And it sounded so much like I would react in certain situations. And I'm like, is he maybe highly sensitive? And she's like, oh, he's definitely too sensitive. And I'm like, no, highly. She's like, no, he's like, so it's still not something that
Mm.
in the world of psychology. So if you've heard one of our further episodes before where we talk about finding help, or is actually going to be today, sorry, make sure the person, not every therapist is familiar with
No,
ADHD, with being an HSP or neurodivergent. So,
no.
it's really careful to make that choice. And the reason why I was saying that, oh yeah, it's because I saw therapists, but they never alluded to me being highly sensitive. So I thought
Right,
I was just misinterpreting everything. I was getting everything wrong. That was the message I was getting.
right.
I wasn't understanding life and how it should work. I
You
wasn't
were
doing
wrong.
life how I should be doing it. And
Ah,
at some point, I was like, okay, so my only way out is the way out.
because if you don't belong in this
What, and
where
apparently in no country.
no, and I feel that's society. Like if we're star shaped, but the box is square, we're not gonna fit through the shape because
Unless they break up, it
well, yeah, if you
breaks.
turn your angles and angle, but then you're not going in fully as you. You're going in as a version or a facet or a view. So,
I actually do think that I did enter the box, but it
mm,
broke me. Like
yes,
to break me in order to fit in. I put on a person that I wasn't so that people would like me more.
right.
Um,
And then it gets
and
heavy.
pardon?
And does it get heavy for you? Does it? So it weighs you down,
It weighs you
which
down,
can
yeah.
lead you into, well, for me, it would be depression, anxiety, and those just
Definitely.
feed off of each other.
And
And so
then
then your journey.
the feeling of not being authentic will lead you to shaming yourself
Yes.
for not showing up for yourself. And there was so much, and I remember being like, even saying, okay, I'm gonna be louder. And it's so interesting. The other day, I actually came upon a video on YouTube, and there was this lady saying about how difficult it is to be a woman of color and an introvert because of the expectations. Like you should be like in those music videos, you should be, like, and
Wow.
and it was always like I remember this mom of my friend of mine telling me, just laugh and show your bright African smile. African people always smile. Why aren't you smiling?
Oh,
And
One
I
more
was at my
thing.
lowest.
So then did you feel, was it you were ashamed or you had to hide and you just, again, one more example of I don't belong?
I don't belong. Yes, because now it's not only that um I am different, but apparently people who look like I'm different like every than anybody who looks like me. People who look like me are always smiling.
Oh, that is a heavy weight
They're the
again.
happy people.
That's the other star part of you being pushed into the box.
Yes.
Wow. So, friend, you were in the box. It got heavy. You talked to therapists. You had I can't say it because my brain is going, oh my, suicidal thoughts. So you had those. Did you recognize it? Did an outside person recognize it? How did you end up finding help?
Actually, when I had those thoughts, I was already in therapy. So um it was I'm really trying to figure out how I worked it out, but um I think it was I at some point I decided to zone out totally. I would only do the necessary outside activities. I would only go to work and back home. I stopped interacting. I just started to be in this place where my cave was the only safe space.
Right.
And that wasn't living either.
No,
I
that
mean, I've
was,
never been the party person, but I'm an interactive person. I love being outside, but it felt so unsafe because um especially like I was living in Germany. I'm German and I was living in a city alone. And I remember having some racist experience and then people being, oh, you're being too sensitive. So I was like, if I go out now
mm,
and someone calls me the N-word, I'm not even going to be able to be upset because I'm going to be told, why are you upset?
you're overreacting.
So it all became like, Jen, it went so far that I would go to the supermarket the moment they opened, when there's still no people, get the groceries, and go home.
And so so how long would you say that was? Would you say that was
Years,
years?
years,
Years of
and
getting smaller and
yes,
smaller.
and smaller and smaller. Yes. And I think it wasn't until my mid 30s when I actually also moved. So I moved to Barcelona, which had always been my dream and my dream city, and where I started to live and breathe again, feel safe again. Um, and so I would say it was a decade of trying to be in that box
Mhm.
and trying to make believe that everything was fine when I was just like survival mode. I was
Right,
just doing the barely necessary to cover costs, to be able to and to not draw attention. So
right,
my outer appearance would always be like I would always shower and so on and so forth because that would then have given me the negative attention, right?
right.
But it was just the barely surviving.
So you're just on the edge, and it was the what was acceptable for others. You were doing what was acceptable so others
Mm.
would see you. And we were just talking about that in another episode of the Miss Seen and Misheard, which started back then for you. And then
Mm.
you started to make this decision to go somewhere where this fire was just reignited. You had this thought, uh, and you just decided to go to Barcelona. What do you think was what do you think was behind all that?
So to me, that's my personal journey, and it's not to put that on anybody. It was a
Mm,
faith journey.
yeah.
So it was like, okay, um, for me, it was reconnecting to God and being like, oh, if I'm made like this, then I'm supposed to be like this, and I'm supposed to be here, and I'm supposed to enjoy life, and I'm supposed to live. And it's my space, my world. This world is my home as well.
Hmm.
So like really claiming that, starting to claim that and be like, oh, this wasn't an accident.
Mm-mm.
I'm not just some cells that got together, put together
No,
in the wrong way, and then oops, oh, too sensitive. No, I was
no.
made like that. And I
Right.
also
For a
actually
purpose.
um make that joke with a cousin of mine. Like, I think Jesus was highly sensitive.
Uh-huh. Well, don't you think? And we can have that discussion at a whole other time because I love that idea. Because yes, and whatever your source is, your greater power is, whatever you call your connection, the universe was like, mm, I can't even infinite words to describe of how all these little particles came together to create a you.
Mhm.
And that is an amazing right then and there. So the fact that you're right, we were created for this purpose. And I have the same thought over and over. I'm like, I keep having this same thing where I collect, like I gather those. I gather those that aren't seen so that they can be seen. And it's just through growing up and different experiences, I'm like, I'm doing it again. How am I doing this again? Like, so
And
I've
I love
learned
that
that
about you.
judgment. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I love that about you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Mhm.
That's why. And I want you to know I really appreciate your life and your glowing and your smile, not because you're expected to smile, but because it comes from inside and from a place of this, I want to call it fire for you, where you found it. You're like, this, I'm supposed to be here. Like, if you all didn't feel that, step back again and feel that because she's supposed to be here. This is how she's supposed to be. This is how we're all supposed to be. And society, again, we're back to it. Society has tried to put us, and I love the star thing of being broken to get into the box. And then I just found my star shape and I just was like, oh, now I can go in there. Now I think I'm
Yeah.
fitting in there.
Now it's
Right.
working.
And we talk about this, all the thoughts and the finding help and making, maybe it's a small journey for you. Maybe your journey is just reaching out and asking for help. Journey to Barcelona was for Agakora. For me, it was a struggle of trying to figure out who I was and where I fit in. So I reached out to therapists and I got the right ones for me. And that was a good thing. That doesn't mean all the right ones are. And we encourage you to go until you find one that you go, oh, that's my safe space. And a coach is amazing too. We have that safe space for you. It has to be the right one for you. So we're going to talk about after the storm because we kind of called our depression, anxiety, the back and forth with it. It's a cycle and how it leads into some shame and guilt. And I thought I was out of this and I'm feeling it again. And so after the storm, lead us through the storm hit like this. There's the stormy years. And then you said around 30-ish, you were able to move and notice who you are, rebuild who you are. So after the storm now, I mean, the storms come and go. How do you
Hmm.
recognize them? What do you do for yourself? What are some things? Um, we know it wreaks havoc, so how do you fix it? How do you help yourself?
Hmm. It's interesting. I'm going to just share this example. I played volleyball a lot when I was a teen. And there was once the ball really fell on my thumb in a really unfortunate way. And my teacher then and there told me, you will have times where you always feel it. And now that it's cold, for example, it comes and goes. And this was, mind you, 30 years ago. And it's when I put too much strength on it. So it was also my left hand and I'm left-handed. But for example, now I'm having an episode where I can't open a bottle with my left hand because the thumb is acting up. And it's the same with this cycle of depression and anxiety. So the after the storm looks like, and now we really have to be careful. There's some things that I I can't overdo without risking going back in that. So I think we've talked about it in another conversation. I can't watch too much of the news. I mean, I grew up with the news around me. My parents would buy all three newspapers that they had, that there were. The news would always be on. When there was TV, it was news. And I really need to feed myself little portions, and not because I don't care, but because I really realize there's a place in my body, which is here. When I realize it's getting painful and heavy, that's now when I have to be careful. It's the same with some movies or
Hmm.
some really like um they didn't find the murder of the little girl. No, don't go there.
Mm-mm.
So it's more like you've had the food poisoning, so don't load your plate with the gravy and everything's like feed
Keep a
yourself
simple diet.
the simple diet, and that's what you have to like after the storm means get to know yourself and get to know what gets you there and protect yourself from getting there because it doesn't, I mean, there are moments where I've even like cried and be like, this feels like I'm going back there, and then realized, oh, it's this time in my cycle. Thank God. It's
Right.
because
Right.
it's and because that can spiral like the anxiety, like I don't want to go back there. I
No,
really don't want to go back there.
I agree. And
It was scary. It was
it's
lonely.
and my brain wants to overthink it to try to fix it, and I can't
Mm.
in a way that I think I should be able to. But in another way, then I'm reminded you have this tool, you've learned this, you've come so far with this. So, but the other day I got really frustrated. I was finding myself in the same situation, and I was told, you were climbing the mountain and you looked up and you saw this stack of three rocks and you saw it this way, but you're coming around the mountain, still climbing, and now you see it a different way. You still have all those tools. You're learning new ones with this new perspective of what you're seeing and opening. And when you get to the top, those three rocks might actually be the big top peak that you're actually seeing it in a whole different view with different sunshine, different tools. So I'm reminding myself that I'm on the climb. It's not a it's not supposed to be strenuous. I'm looking at it as an adventure and finding the joy out of it that I'm able to, and reminding myself that, oh, right, I got through this part when I saw it this way, but now I'm seeing it this way.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
That gives me a little bit more reassurance that it can be done. A lot of it's on my own because I have the tools and I can recognize what's going on, but it's also nice to have
Yes.
our community. And like the one thing
Yes.
you said, the inner circle that can feed the dream, that can help it grow. So that's important too. I liked how you said that.
Exactly. And really finding the help. So for me, finding the help is not only when your tree is on fire, but even just like you go to have your to the dentist for your checkup. Just it's part for me, therapy and coaching, I see them as yes, as healing, but also as part of self-care. It's the self-care.
Right. It's the
And
toolkit.
exactly. And we need, I mean, the world, I think, even the unsensitivist, I know this word doesn't exist, of
The
person
least sensitive person on this planet.
will say this is a tough place. It can be a tough place. So why would we not look for like why would we not make sure that we're caught
Right.
when we need it, like
Right.
we have this place. And for me it's important to um like most therapists or even coaches, they offer you like some sessions to see whether it will work or not, and if you feel it doesn't, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
When it's about being highly sensitive, we can add the link again about how to find out. When it's about ADHD, my understanding is that around the world, it's more difficult to get an appointment to actually
Get
exactly
diagnosis in
get
different ways.
diagnosis. But if you, I was thinking the other day, if I resonate with so many things said, or if things that the tips that I get from people with ADHD help me, why would I wait for someone? I'm
Don't
not
wait
going
for
to
a
wait to get the
diagnosis.
appointment. Exactly.
Right. Take that and say, that works for me. That doesn't work for me. And Yeah, I absolutely agree. I
Because
don't
it
have to have
took you
somebody
ages,
diagnose it.
right?
Huh?
Sorry, it took you ages, right? Was it two
Oh,
years to get the appointment?
oh, it was a long time, yes. And the only reason I went is because um it was very obvious by different other things because it's a more of a genetic
Mm.
thing. And I just having my son diagnosed with it, I went, oh yeah, it's probably me. Or a version of it. So, and I could see a whole bunch of things and it made things clear. I went, oh, my depression and anxiety. Oh, they're triggered with this. And it does help to have, for me, for the rules, the labels that, okay, show me. I'm a really good about saying there's where the puzzle piece fits. Okay. That doesn't define me, but it does help me to understand and have less judgment on myself. So definitely self-care. Absolutely. When you were saying that, yeah. Um, the HSP link, just I fell into it the other day going years ago and went, oh, I just so really, it's just, it feels so connecting. And if you guys have places where you found where you connect and you're like, I'm in this community, great. Take what you can from that that's positive for you, but leave the negative judgments there because those aren't for you. That's what I would encourage you to do. And if you're in a storm and you've got some people in your inner circle or those who truly believe in you and have that safe space, reach out to them, talk to them, find resources near you that gives you somebody some access where you can connect with them. So Agakora, after the storm, the sun is shining, and I know it's not always sunshine and rainbows and unicorns because we just that's how life is for us. We can remember those. What would you leave everyone with? What are some thoughts after sharing your journey? And thank you again for doing that and just who you are and shining the light for all of us. It's been an honor to be able to sit and talk with you all the time, but today especially. So, what would you like to leave our viewers with?
Thank you, Jen. That's interesting. What would I like to leave them with? I think it always goes back to awareness and noticing. I know we say it on every episode.
That it's important.
And as I'm saying this, and as you were talking, I was also thinking one thing I forgot to say. It's also things like caffeine, for example.
Oh,
If I'm in
nutrition.
a place where I might be going that way, for me, for example, caffeine does not work. It triggers anxiety. I
Mm.
get this heart palpitation. So even notice the things that you take in. I know that there are these energy drinks. They they can also have that effect. So really, like even what here's what I'll leave you with. When you feel you're in a place where it feels like the storm, notice what you've been hearing, notice what you've been seeing, and notice what you've been eating and drinking. Because for some of us, things like caffeine, white sugar, or energy drinks, Red Bull, and you name them, can actually have that effect on our nervous system. And you may be thinking you're going back to the place when actually you've just consumed something in the form of information or conversation or visuals or drinking
All of it.
that is getting you there.
Right. And if you notice it gets you there, just also know, I like how we're going to bring that back then full circle of, um, we call that VAK, the visual, the auditory, the kinesthetic, like all the senses. If you're noticing what's creating the I'm going to call it the angst feeling for the moment, just to keep it simple. You can also then figure out where your peace feelings comes from, where your joy feelings come from, and that becomes your recipe for success. That becomes what works for you. And I love how you brought that full circle for us. We're definitely in the body, we're feeling it because our mind can be up here doing all this, but our body holds it and then sends memories, is a very simple way of putting it, I guess.
That was so amazing because I was like, yes, of course. Notice what makes gets you into the peace state. Because there is a time when I feel like this and I open my little bergamot essential oil.
Mm.
Bergamot, I don't know what it has, and it's not for everybody, but it just
Right.
opens this world, and it's true to know where to go. You know
Yeah.
where your first aid kit is
I love
and
how you
how.
said that because that's where I went. I spray my lavender after a very busy, hectic, I'm feeling it. I'll spray lavender before bed and it just kind of I take a deep breath and my body automatically just soothes itself. So whatever works for you. If it's chocolate, great. If it's a scent, if it's a sound, if it's music, I can play music to get myself in a really good space and also to calm myself. So we invite you to share what you do for your recipe for success. And that is us for today. Thanks for chilling and chatting with us. And I thank Agakora again for just sharing all that you are and that you've gone through so that someone else can feel seen and heard and that they do belong here, just in their star box, not a square box.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for this space, and thank you for the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Join us again on Just Be. We'll see you back here.
Yes.